Hey, welcome. We've got some good stuff to cover in today's live stream about one of the best songs of all time. So lately I've been listening a lot to The Police, and their greatest hit is Every Breath You Take. And it is really, really good, like really, really good. But there are some interesting things about it that make it even cooler once you kind of know what's going on behind the scenes. And so we're going to use music theory and specifically we're going to use the circle of fifths to dissect this song and get into Sting's head. Sting wrote this song and to kind of get into the psychology behind what is a very psychological song. So with that said, let's jump right in and talk about Every Breath You Take. So this song came out in 1983. So it was at the height of the Cold War, or there was a lot of Cold War stuff going on at the time. So that definitely influenced the theme of the song, as we'll explore a bit as we go forward. Also, just as you're joining, let me know where you're coming from, because I'd love to, I always love to hear where people are in the world. And if you're part of the replay crew, let us know where you're at and what you think of this video, because this is such a great song and hopefully add some cool insight into the songwriting process. So Sting wrote this song, and it is we're gonna get into the structure of the song and the chord progression and the key, the mode, and all of that. But the lyrics play a really interesting part, and that's going to play into things. But at a glance, this song has several sections. We've got an intro, a verse 1, verse 2, chorus. There's a third chorus. And then it breaks into this really interesting bridge section, which you can already tell, and we'll get into this. One of these is unlike the others. You can tell even from the chords at a glance, the root chords here, that there's a shift. There's a harmonic shift going on here. And then we have an interlude, chorus, verse 4, pre-outro, and outro. And this outro kind of goes on and on. But just to kind of like jump into the chords, we have, it's in the key of A flat. Now, a lot of times guitarists speak in hey John, it's cool to see you in Houston. So a lot of times guitarists in particular are biased towards using the sharp names for chords or keys. So this song is in the key of A flat. If you play the guitar, you might think of that as G sharp. And in other videos, I get into why it makes more sense to call this A flat. Basically, we're just trying to reduce the number of accidentals or sharps and flats in reference to the notes and chords in a given key. There are fewer flats in A flat than there are sharps in G sharp, in a nutshell. But I'll talk about that more at another time. But basically, this chord progression is, at least in the verse, so it's every breath you take, every move you make, every bond you break, every step you take, I'll be watching you. And Andy Summers, who's the guitar player, has a really cool riff going that adds a lot of dimension to that, a cool effect on his guitar. But at its core, that's the chord progression. And what's interesting about this song is that, and you may already know this, if you don't, this is kind of interesting, that Sting was he kind of disparaged the song because of its simplicity. It's almost like he was a little bit embarrassed by it. And in an interview, I was looking at some notes here, he's quoted to say, the song has the standard structure of a pop ballad, but there's no harmonic development after the middle 8. No release of emotions. We're going to explore what that means here in a sec. But he says the song is actually very, very sinister and ugly. And people have actually misinterpreted it as being a gentle little love song when it's quite the opposite. In a nutshell, Sting, who looks like a pleasant enough guy, this basically is like the song of a stalker. It's really kind of creepy because, every bond you break, every step you take, I'll be watching you. That's, like, whoa. So, but the reason that when we're going to look at why why the song was just pretty much immediately adopted and became this loving classic and played at, people dance to it at their wedding parties. It's like a slow dance number in high schools. Like, it's like supposed to be this romantic love song when really it's about this creeper who is obsessed with someone. And so, what's going on there, and how is it that he was able to slip that past everyone? I mean, it has over 1 billion views on YouTube. So it's like people are very accepting of the creeper theme. And so we'll get into how he's able to slip that by. And there is a little hint, he kind of gets at it when he says that the song has the standard structure of a pop ballad. And what he means by that is, it sounds very familiar if you hear that it's in the key of A flat. It's 1, A flat, F minor, the 6, to D flat, the major 4, to E flat, the major 5. And there's a really famous song that uses that same chord progression, which is when the night has come and the land is dark and the moon is the only light we see. No, I won't be afraid. No, I won't be afraid. Just as long as you stand by me. So that's a really common chord progression, probably most famously known in Stand By Me by Billy King, which is, he's literally saying, like, I won't be afraid. Like, don't be afraid. So we already kind of like associate those chords with lyrics, at least subconsciously, as, okay, this is fine. And this is actually a love song. So darling, darling, stand by me. Won't you stand by me? And the person standing next to you, you want them to be there. You don't want them, standing next to you outside the window peeking in. That's not the vision that chord progression creates. It's such a sweet melody. So, and it's, every breath you take, every move you make, every bond you break, every moment. So we have that kind of sweet, almost lullaby type melody that's going with this chord progression. Now, Sting says that he didn't really realize at the time that's what he was doing. He wasn't trying to, he was kind of thinking of like Big Brother, surveillance and control. Like I say, it was 1983. So the surveillance and control, and, Ronald Reagan had the Star Wars system that a lot of people were nervous about. There was the arms race with nuclear weapons and all of that. And so, the idea of this eye in the sky that can see everything can seem kind of scary, unless there's another input where we've already been inoculated to the idea of someone watching our every move. That shows up in all cultures, but there is a really popular song that uses much of the same chords, and it goes like this. You better watch out. Better not pout, I'm telling you why. Santa Claus is coming to town, that's right. And then even goes on to say, he sees you when you're sleeping, he knows when you're away, he knows if you've been bad or good, so be good for goodness sake. Oh, you better watch out, you better not cry, you better not pout, I'm telling you why. Santa Claus is coming to town. So, hey, creeper staring at us. You literally even have Santa Claus like watching our every move we make, every night you stay, he'll be watching you. So it's kind of interesting. The fact that it even has the same chord progression or lots of the same chords is kind of interesting. So let's look a little more at this chord progression because it's kind of cool. So the influences on how Sting was able to slip a creeper by everyone and make it a classic is really cool.
And much of that has to do with the chord progression. So let's look at the chords here. And in the key of A flat, we have the 1 chord, 1, and then it goes to the 6. So it's relative minor, the F minor chord. And then it goes to the 4, the 5, and back to the 1. In guitar chord form, what that looks like is A flat to F minor, and then F minor to D flat to E flat, the 5 chord, and then back to 1. So 1, minor 6, major 4, major 5, 1. And then in the so this is Benny King. Benny King is well known. He didn't create that chord progression, but Stand By Me is largely associated with that chord progression. And because, again, of Andy Summers, the guitarist for Police, because his riff kind of obscures that pattern, and it has that distinct Every Breath You Take sound because of how he played the guitar, it obscures that and allows for the Trojan horse of sweetness in terms of the chord progression. So what's kind of cool in this verse 1, though, is we're playing the same chords, 1, 6, 4, 5, but then instead of going back to 1, there's what's called a deceptive cadence or an interrupted cadence, which is kind of interesting that it's even called deceptive in the theme of, a stalker or someone who's, maybe not on the up and up. So the chord progression is very similar. It's 1, minor 6, major 4, major 5, and then 6. And the reason it's called a deceptive cadence is instead of going back to that resolute 1, the point of resolution or the tonic of that key goes to its relative minor, to the minor 6 up here, which is very similar. And it shares two of the same chords. If you were on the last live stream, we talked about substitute chords, and the 6 is often substituted for a 1 because it shares two tones in common. And it also gives it this kind of pensive, unsettled feel. Instead of ending on that very satisfying, very settling 1, it goes to a more unsettling 6, which kind of adds to that. They're playing with us. The police are playing with us. Instead of that resolute, stabilizing 1, they go to the deceptive 6, which is unsettling, and then also brings us to the chorus, which is, let's see. Oh, can't you see? You belong to me. Let's go to the chorus. Let's try that again. So, oh, can't you see? You belong to me. Oh, heartache, every step you take. I can't remember the lyrics, and often, to be straight up, I often don't even notice lyrics. So I for sure didn't know that this was a creepy song for the longest time, because in my mind I kind of discount lyrics a lot and just go straight to what's going on with the melody and the harmony. Anyway, so I might just kind of scat sing some of these lyrics, but so what's going on here is kind of cool too, though, in the chorus. So we have the 4, which is part of the Ionian mode. This is in the Ionian or major key. But then we go to this flat major 3 for just a quick moment before we go to the 1. And that flat major 3 is from over here. And we're going to see what's up with that here in just a second. Like, why did we borrow this chord from over here in the circle of fifths? I mean, it sounds kind of cool. Almost gives it kind of a bluesy. And then it goes to a major 2, a B flat chord, B flat major chord. So it's a borrowed chord from over here. And then we come back into the chords of the key, a 4 and then a 5. And then we stay for the second half of the chorus within our main 4 chords of 1, minor 6, 4, and 5. So that's kind of interesting that we have a flat major 3 and a major 2. What's up with that? So the flat major 3, it's arguable whether it's even in this song, but it sounded like that was in there, so I threw it in. So that flat major 3 comes from let's look at it in the functional circle of fifths here. So let's rotate things so that we're in the key of A flat. So we're going to rotate things so that the 1 is labeling the A flat major chord. So if you're new to the circle of fifths here, all of the chords in the inner ring are major chords, hence the uppercase Roman numerals. All of the minor chords are in the middle ring, hence the lowercase Roman numerals. And then the outer ring is the diminished chords. And those round out the chords that are included in each key and all of the 7 modes within all 12 keys. And there are other videos that I get into that dive into that. So A flat is the major 1 chord. So we have this flat major 3 over here. And where does that come from? Well, if we have the major 1 labeling A flat minor is labeled by a minor 1. So when we're in the context of A being the tonic, then we come over here and you can see how A flat, when A flat is the 1, this is the Aeolian mode, and the flat major 3, C flat major, shows up right there. And actually, these 2 chords, the flat major 6 and the flat major 7, are going to show up in that bridge that Sting talked about in that interview, saying that there's this emotional climax of the middle 8, or the bridge in this case, that we're going to look at further. So that's where this chord comes from. It's not just this random C flat major chord from nowhere. It's because it's related to the relative or the parallel minor of A flat minor over here. But there's only just like little hints of going to that key for a moment. And still, so far in the song, in this chorus, we're still staying with A flat as the tonic. So it's like foreshadowing, musical foreshadowing in the storytelling of music. So let's see. Let's get to this bridge section. So I'm going to sing the chorus one more time. It's oh, can't you see you belong to me? Oh, I need to get back. Sorry. Need to get back to the section. Every step you take. Let's see. So that's 1, 6, 4, 5, 1. And then he gets into this really cool section over here that I'll share on my screen. So in this bridge section, it's since you've gone, I've been lost without a trace. See your face. I look around, but it's you I can't replace. I feel so cold and I long for your embrace. I keep crying, baby, baby, please. So what is up with that? Because we clearly are in a different area of the circle of fifths. What it is we are now in the Aeolian mode. We shifted over into the Aeolian mode for the bridge section, which is why it has this kind of like emotional, harmonic, almost like gravitational shift. It's why it sounds distinct and stands out, because we've shifted modes. And looking at, here, let's look at this one. So this is pretty cool. So in the key of A flat Ionian, or in the mode A flat Ionian, the chords are A flat 1, B flat minor, the minor 2, and then we have the C minor. C minor is the minor 3, and then D flat, the major 4, and then 5 is the E flat major chord, and then 6 is the F minor chord, and then we have G diminished, and then back to 1. So those chords all gravitate towards the one. They reinforce the major one, A flat major in this case, as the tonic, as the point of resolution. When we shift over into the bridge section of the song, so 1 is still aligned with A flat, but in this case it's A flat minor, so it's A flat Aeolian. We have these flat 6 and flat 7 chords that are coming into play. But if we treat A flat minor as the tonic here, it's a different set. So it's 1, A flat, and then we have a diminished 2, and then we have flat major 3, and then we have minor 4, and then minor 5, and then we have flat major 6, flat major 7, and then back to minor 1. So just to kind of play those a little more smoothly, it's definitely more of kind of a melancholy, dramatic vibe when A minor is A flat minor is the 1. So what's kind of cool is, you know, that in a minor key, you're leading towards that A flat minor, the minor 1. When you're kind of playing those chords, your ear is thinking you're going to go there with those chords, because again, A flat, E and F sharp, or in this case, F flat and G flat, they're just enharmonic names. They're synonymous names for the same chords. And it depends on the key you're in and the key signature and sharps and flats. It's kind of a beside the point. But these two chords, the flat major 6 and the flat major 7, naturally resolve to the minor 1. But in the case of the bridge, in Every Breath You Take, these two chords lead up to this one, which then brings us back into like this, whoa. Again, it almost feels like another gravitational shift, another emotional, seismic kind of shift into another mode here. So it's, so I'm going to do these two chords.
Since you've gone, I've been lost without a trace. Every night I can only see your face. I look around, but it's you I can't reach. I feel so cold and long for your embrace. Keep crying, baby, baby, please.
And it's like, whoa. So instead of going to the minor 1, it's almost like it's setting you up for that like surprise to go between those two chords. You normally want to go there, but it's which then brings us back into the key of A. And so in that interview, when Sting says, so Sting's kind of hard on himself, apparently. He has some pretty high standards to say that he's kind of embarrassed by the song. It is a very common chord progression to start with. You know, you've got that Stand By Me kind of pop ballad structure, but he definitely takes it to the next level. Whereas Stand By Me is the same progression almost ad nauseum. I mean, it's pretty much those 4 chords over and over. Every Breath You Take clearly has way more going on. So let me get back to that image, because this is a nice way to look at it. So you can see now, just like to look at this again, we've got, you know, you can see that we're okay. This song section includes the same chords as that song section. This song section includes the same chords again. So some repetition there, kind of Stand By Me-ish in how simple it is. But then with this flat major 3, this borrowed chord from Aeolian, we're starting to foreshadow the shift that comes later into Aeolian for the bridge. And a major 2, which is borrowed from over. It's a secondary dominant. It's a secondary dominant. So it's basically the flat 2 is the 5 of A flat's 5. And so there's a relationship there, and that's why it works. That's why it fits in only in this song, but also in Santa Claus is Coming to Town. And then, but we get back into A flat Ionian, same with the verse. And then there's that shift. And if you didn't know what was going on with the circle of fifths, you'd be like, what is up? Like, these chords seem completely random. Did he just like luck upon those chords? No, there's a relationship within the circle of fifths due to the way that parallel modes are related as adjacent neighbors in the circle of fifths. Music is this beautiful, seamless, cyclical, intertwined system framework of patterns, and happens to work that way, not only in the key of A flat, but in all keys. So these two chords, and this is what Sting is talking about when he says, how do you say it? He said, where was it? Because he's like bagging on himself. It's interesting. He says, have the notes here. Oh yeah, there we go. The song has this standard structure of a pop ballad, but there's no harmonic development after the middle 8, no release of emotions. So what is he saying there? Because this is clearly like, whoa, that emotional shift, that gravitational harmonic shift that we're talking about with these chords. But then he's just saying, and I'm obviously putting words in his mouth, but it sounds like he's saying, then I just kind of like copped out and went back into the same chord pattern as before and didn't develop it further. But I don't know. I think so what makes it work is because that shift from the flat major 6 to the 1 already is a shift, because you're expecting to hear that A flat minor chord, the minor 1. So I think he's being too hard on himself when he says, let's go back into this awesome chord progression and melody to round things out and bring it on home to the end. Now he does mix things up again at the end, because the 5, he drops the 5. So in the outro, it's just 1, 6, and 4. So 1, 6, 4. 6, 4. And so he's just, actually, I'm doing the timing a little bit wrong. So it's 1, 2, 4. Which sounds really good. And there isn't that 5 to like really reinforce the 1, because the 5 leads so naturally into and sounds especially sweet. So just having the 1, the 6, and the 4 kind of gives it this, it lends itself to that looping structure, and it never feels quite finished because it doesn't have that 5 to like land on the 1. It just kind of keeps going and going and going until the song ends. So, which is also kind of like reinforces the theme of, you know, how is this going to end? You know, the story of this person who's obsessing over the other person. And in his case, you know, he's talking about, you know, the Cold War and what was going on in the world at that time. How is this going to end? There's this pensive, tense feeling that I think the song does an amazing job capturing. And, you know, it's one thing to have really cool lyrics and have, you know, a clever idea. Stuart Copeland, who's a drummer, described the song as deceptively simple. And it is. Obviously, there's a lot more going on than Stand By Me, with, you know, the bridge and these borrowed chords from outside of the mode. But also just obviously with the lyrics, with the unexpected meaning of the lyrics. But all of it is informed by music theory. Like, at the end of the day, like, these chords aren't just like randomly or luckily perfect for each other. It's because they are related and have harmonic relationships that help guide that movement and give it a cohesive, beautiful vibe. Let's see. So let me just get back to this note here. And I do have to say, I do think, actually, I really don't know, but that maybe Santa Claus played a role in influencing it, because he's like the ultimate stalker. And every Christmas Eve, watching us as we sleep. But so I'm getting to, let me not bore you with the scroll. Let me just get back to, that's what I was looking for. So the song structure is awesome. And, at a glance, it's nice to be able to see the chords, just represented by their root notes here. So you can see at a higher glance what the structure is. And this section, I always liked this section, but once I understood what was going on, I especially like the bridge. I think it's the best part. But then, like, throughout, to actually see the chords and see how to play them, only the how to put theory into practice, but the actual theory that's informing it over here. All of these diagrams are going to be in a post. I'm going to be posting all of these in the locals library. So there will be a post added to that, and a link in the video notes after this is all done. So it's a creeper song, but it's a beautiful creeper song. And it's basically Sting took Benny King plus Santa Claus to make a classic. And I've seen some comments. I'm going to jump into the comments because I've been just kind of riffing on all of that fun stuff with theory. But let me see what's going on here in the chat. Let's see. Okay, so Max Rader, you always have interesting thoughts here. So you said Synchronicity was their worst album. I absolutely love the Police, all their reggae stuff. Yeah, I've been listening to them a lot lately. So Ghost in the Machine went towards synthesizers, but was still good and had good drumming. Yeah, the drumming, Stuart Copeland is truly amazing as a drummer. And his drumming, I don't know if you know, but he was raised like in Beirut or something. Like he moved to the Middle East when he was little. Actually, it turns out that his dad was a founding member of the CIA. So he thought he was just a businessman and a diplomat, when really he was like involved with like regime change and coups and stuff. But anyway, he had a lot of influence with the drumming and the rhythms of that region, which definitely you can hear in the Police. It's interesting the kind of serendipity that happens in people's lives and how it can influence what comes. But yeah, Synchronicity has some good songs. To me, the Police are hit and miss, like a lot of people, but they have some excellent stuff. Oh, that's interesting. So I didn't know that. You know more about them than I do. Synchronicity was Sting's solo album. He made the album to get rid of Andy and Stewart. It seems like that happens a lot. Like Ezra Koenig of Vampire Weekend, if you know them. It's basically just Vampire Weekend in name only. I mean, he's super talented as a songwriter, but I think the band, like the bass player and the drummer, don't even play on the album, which is like even taking it to the next level. Let's see. You said, hey, Nintendo, hoping that I'd continue singing that song. Well, thank you. Hopefully I didn't totally ruin the song with my singing, but it is a beautiful song. Let's see. You said, John, you said last song sung by Mickey Gilley, Stand By Me, on videotape at his Celebration of Life show. Oh, and interesting. Stand By Me is such an awesome song. I actually have a video here on the channel that gets into the theory of that chord progression. Benny King wrote it in a different key, or at least performed it in a different key than A flat. That's the cool thing about music, is that it's cyclical. The same patterns apply to each key. So looking at it in the key of A flat, it's the same as this song we're talking about. But the video, the song Insight that I do about Benny King's Stand By Me, check that out. I used the circle of thirds in that example to analyze the chord progression. So rather than the circle of fifths, looking at it, because it just stays within one key. So there's no modulation, there's no borrowed chords from parallel key or parallel modes. So the circle is used in that video to just show the harmonic flow between chords, since it's in Ionian and it kind of lends itself well towards that. Let's see. Hey, Richard Hall, it's cool to see you on. Thank you for joining, and hopefully this is helpful. Yeah, it's cool. Jack, thanks for your comment, and it's cool to see how this all works. Yeah. Okay, so Drake, you said, could you review what makes heritage time the valuator so harmoniously pleasing? So I'm going to have to look into that. So pardon my ignorance, but and I can just look it up, but is heritage like the name of the artist and time is the name of the song? Or maybe the name of the track is the valuator. I'll look into it and I'll look at that, because if there's a harmonically pleasing song, I'm super interested in checking that out. So thank you for the recommendation there. Yeah, that's a good point, Max Rader. You said that it should be noted that Sting played jazz before he got into rock. And that was actually something that he and Andy Summers, the guitar player, bonded over, because Andy Summers, actually, if you didn't know, Andy Summers was in the Animals, the band. He's like 8 to 9 years older than the other guys. So he was older and had been like in the London music scene for a while. And in interviews, he describes, the Police songs as just like, it's kind of easy. It's just kind of, he doesn't say throwaway, but it's pop music, whereas in his own like endeavors, he really loves jazz. So I can see why, and you can hear how that comes into play, and you can hear some of that in the music that they, and both of them had that background. That's cool. Yeah, Jack Delaney, you said sometimes less is more. I totally agree. And in the case of, sometimes there's like Stuart Copeland, just speaking of less is more, like he's very active as a drummer. Like he fills the soundscape with the rhythm a lot. And normally I'm not a huge fan of like the wall of sound, to use Phil Spector's term, of just like a barrage of audible stimuli. So to have less is really satisfying. And when it comes to some of these progressions, like allowing the audience, allowing the listener to fill in the gaps or apply their own creativity and engage with the music in their own way. So you're not trying to like hog the harmonic space as a songwriter, but you're allowing it, space, just like in a conversation, to have some back and forth and have, the potential for the unknown to come about, I think is really good. So in the case of this song, I think not going on past the bridge and just building, I get it. Like Sting knows jazz, like he could do things, he could go places when it comes in terms of harmony, but to go past this and just keep moving on and go off in some other direction, it's possible that could be really good. And a lot of good music does that. But for the purpose of this song, I think coming back into, the progression as before to like tie up the loose end, I think was really good. Let's see. So, John, you said Steely Dan and Mew chords. I'll have to look into that. I know they have some really good music, and so I'm gonna have to like explore that some more to kind of know what's going on there. Thank you, Jack, for your feedback. And you said, let's see, Prince Zilla, you said 85 TV, you said, are you clairvoyant or an idiot savant or a psychic? Either way, good topic. I'm probably an idiot savant. I'm probably just an idiot is what it comes down to. That's cool. I'm glad that this fits the bill as far as a topic that you're looking for. The Police are awesome, and I like come and go with listening to them. But I've been on this kick listening to them, and then started looking into this chord progression and the story behind it, and it just all was like a very nice way to play with the circle of fifths with, you know, different modes and different chord progressions, and put theory into practice. Music theory itself, like, you know, I could look at this all day long and you know, play around with the different layers and understand different modes and all of that. But to turn it into, like a phrase we used recently, a sonic pop-up book, to put theory into practice and have the music rise out of this, is what it's all about. And to use a song like this, I think, is a great example. Thanks, John, for your feedback. So let me just wrap things up. Those are the main things that I wanted to cover. But there were a couple of housekeeping points that I wanted to address just before wrapping this up, which is lesson 12 in the music theory course is now out. So definitely check out, that is in the library. It's listed in the library at mycolormusic.com. There's a link in the video notes. And lesson 12 picks up where lesson 11 left off, which kind of goes without saying. But lesson 11 was the end of part 3 about time, the element of time and rhythm in music. So lesson 12 starts part 4, which is about composition, about layering the different elements of music, rhythm, harmony, melody, and lyrics into a cohesive whole. So lesson 12 is called The Layers of Music. So definitely check it out. Geeking out about music theory, but hopefully provides some really good insights and further lays the foundation for everything that we're building on here and in the library and in the course. And then also the chord maps, it's been a minute since they've been in the shop, but they now are restocked and will be shipping this weekend. So these chord maps, if you want to get one, definitely check it out. It's in the shop, and you can play with this yourself and explore. I mean, I'm playing this song and using this as an example, but I mean, there are great comments here about, hey, what about this song, or what about that song? So I don't want to be the bottleneck as far as your musical exploration goes, though there will be lots more examples I'll be including myself. But all that to say, if you want to check it out, definitely do. And let's see. Just looking at a couple of notes here. Okay, so that is it for this live stream. Thank you for joining, and we'll be doing these regularly. I'm having a lot of fun, and it's really cool to have. Yes, Jack, you can get a chord map, so definitely check that out if you're interested. They're a lot of fun. And the next, any suggestions or requests that you have, you know, for topics to cover, let me know. Music is, you know, a multicolor branch, a cyclical multicolor branch of audible mathematics, in that it's never ending. Like you can just go on forever with music, and there's so much to cover. And I do have a lot to cover. That said, I want to be talking about things that you're interested in as well. So let me know. And that is all for now. Thank you for joining, and we will be talking very soon. I'll see you.